Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day so far. My name is Jasmine Baeza. My preferred gender pronouns are she and her. And I am a care intern here at UCLA. And today I will be speaking about care and the services we offer to our campus community. But before we get started, I would like to present Sharon, who is also an intern at CARE. We will be co-presenting today. So Sharon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to this recording. My name is Sharon, as Jasmine said. I use she, her pronouns, and just like Jasmine, I'm an MSW intern. And we're gonna get started.
Yes. So CARE stands for Campus Assault Resources and Education. And before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that some of this content may be difficult for some individuals to listen to and discuss. So if at any point you find yourself feeling uncomfortable, feel free to turn off the camera, take a break, or leave the meeting if need be. And remember, we are here to support you in any way that we can. And next, we're going to talk about some non-negotiables. So for our discussion today, anyone can be a victim of harm. A victim of harm is defined as a person who has suffered physical or emotional harm or economic loss as a result of a crime, as well as property damage. So regardless of identity, race, or culture, anyone can be a victim. Anyone can be a perpetrator of harm. An abuse perpetrator is anyone who purposely causes harm to another or allows for harm to be done to another. Perpetrators of abuse can be the abuser in domestic violence situations, or they may be parents, friends, caregivers, anyone who is causing harm. So again, anyone can be a perpetrator. Anyone can be a witness to harm. All harm is connected. And finally, misconceptions about who can be a survivor hurts survivors. So during our discussion, please be kind and respectful to each other so that we may foster a safe space to share our thoughts, ideas, and experiences. Our goals for today include practicing consent, reviewing campus resources, understanding harm and trauma, and connecting you with our office. Would you like to go ahead, Sharon?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna read out the CARE mission statement because it's really important to us. So Campus Assault Resources and Education CARE operates from an anti-oppression framework and is committed to the eradication of sexual and gender-based violence through creating and sustaining a safe, healthy, and equitable community for all people. So what this means to us is that we present these workshops and we come from a place where there's no judgment, and we offer the different resources and education and knowledge that folks need to then create and promote a safe community at UCLA. So what sexual and gender-based violence is any act that is perpetrated against a person's will and is based on gender norms and unequal power relationships. So that we use this term to cover a multitude of things, and that includes sexual harassment, sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and stalking, which we're going to get into in the next slides. So this is a very text-heavy slide, but we include all of it because it has all the definitions that we will be using throughout this presentation and at other CARE workshops. So the three main ones that we look at are IPV, intimate partner violence, stalking, and sexual assault. For IPV, it is a pattern of harmful language and or behaviors that fall on the spectrum of violence used with the intent to maintain control and exert power over others. When folks think of what intimate partner violence is, they typically think, or generally think, oh, it's physical abuse, physical harm, but it actually includes threats, verbal threats, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, economic abuse, financial abuse, and sexual abuse. And sometimes it's called interpersonal violence. So it kind of covers all of it, and it's not just physical. There is stalking, and this is when someone is doing these unsafe behaviors and causing someone a lot of psychological harm and damage, sending them a lot of text or maybe showing up at their door. It can look in many different ways, when I think of stalking, I'm like, okay, someone's physically following you, but it could just be sending you a ton of text messages, sending you DMs, looking through your social media, and just making you feel unsafe in your environment. And lastly, we have sexual harassment. So this is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or nonverbal physical conduct of a sexual nature. And this can interfere with your work. So we break them down by two. There's quid pro quo, which is this for that. And this can be if you are interacting with someone and they say, if you do this for me, I will give you that. And it can be considered sexual harassment in a setting. And hostile environment is when someone can make a sexual advance at you or some advance and you turn them down, and then the environment you're in becomes unsafe and uncomfortable. It can be as simple as not calling on you in class or giving you not a grade that's not as good, or ignoring. So it can be a variety of different things, but this is what we consider as sexual assaults. So sexual assault and consent. A big thing about this is we're just here to talk about consent and what consent looks like. But sexual assault is a legal term referring to any unwanted sexual contact, such as fondling, groping, or penetration, I'm gonna mess up that word, of any body part or object. So this can include contact or penetration. Sometimes folks will think, oh, if they weren't penetrated, it doesn't count as sexual assault. However, if any contact was made and someone was uncomfortable and did not consent to it, it is considered sexual assault. Consent for us should look like these 5 things, but it's not limited to it at all. It should be voluntary. So someone should, I agree, like this is what I want to do. Affirmative, like a good, firm yes. Conscious, this means that the person who's giving consent is, in a clear state of mind and not their mindset isn't altered, they're not, they haven't consumed alcohol or they're not on any narcotics and stuff like that. They're making a conscious decision and it's consensual. Revocable, which means you can take it away. If you did say yes at the beginning and then you change your mind, you're like, actually, no, I don't want to do this. That's okay. Your yes at the beginning doesn't mean it carries throughout. And enthusiastic. Consent should always be a big fat yes. So we are going to practice consent together. Here's a scenario that we have presented to you. Brandy and Lauren run into each other at a party and start talking. They have seen each other around campus and have always been friendly with each other. They hit it off immediately and find a quiet corner to make out in. When they go back to Brandy's place, Lauren and Brandy start cuddling on the bed watching a movie. After a while, Lauren and Brandy start to kiss and mutually enjoy it. Lauren asks Brandy if she can perform oral sex on her while unzipping her pants. Brandy, who was okay with the kissing, starts to feel uncomfortable and zips her pants back up. Lauren laughs and says, "Come on," while pulling Brandy's pants down and touching her. Brandy pulls her pants back up but doesn't want to say anything as she is worried about how Lauren will react. So we're gonna give you some time to think about this. Was this a consensual interaction? Which parts were consensual, if any? Which parts were not consensual, if any? And how could Brandy have communicated her boundaries? Jasmine, did you want to do this part?
Yeah, okay. So what does CARE do? CARE provides trauma-informed services and operates under 3 tenets: advocacy, alternative healing, and prevention education. So currently we have 3 amazing advocates who can provide emotional support, help for developing a safety plan, and help for filling a report if a survivor wishes to do so. I'd also like to add that CARE is a confidential resource. We are not considered responsible employees. We are protected under confidentiality laws, so any information shared with us will remain confidential and will not be shared with anyone outside of CARE without the survivor's permission. Even if we are subpoenaed, we will not break confidentiality. Advocates can also help survivors navigate medical and legal system as well as campus policies. And they can connect survivors with healing pathways like therapy or alternative options. We recognize that we are all different individuals, and what works for one person may not work for the next. So for individuals interested in healing pathway or that's other than therapy, CARE is partnered with UCLA's RISE department to provide alternative healing programs like trauma-informed yoga, art, and dance. And the last tenet of our prevention education, that's us. We go around campus to different student-led organizations, faculty, staff, and we run workshops, presentations like this presentation today, and campaigns that promote positive relationships and address sexual and gender-based violence. We could go to the next slide, okay. Something that makes CARE unique is that we don't only serve students, we also serve alumni, faculty, and staff. So anyone who is part of the UCLA community is welcome to come in and look at the resources that we have to offer or receive services. And UCLA has several other student campus services that can help survivors. We have staff and faculty counseling, student legal services, CAPS, Title IX, staff, faculty, and UCPD. And okay, so this slide is of the UCLA Treatment Center, and they have a lot to offer for students. They are open 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, even during COVID. And they are located at the Santa Monica Medical Center. All of the services that they offer are free and anonymous. They offer forensic exams within 5 days of assault. Survivors can get exams and still not have to report evidence. It is kept in case they decide to report later. And they offer counseling and free follow-up medical care. They provide free transportation, and here is the information, their telephone number, their address, so that's a great resource to have. And so let's just take a moment to think about healthy and unhealthy relationships and some of the characteristics of healthy relationships and what may be an unhealthy relationship. Okay, so there are many different types of relationships. A relationship can be romantic, familial, sexual, platonic, or professional. But the key characteristics that help build healthy relationships are being open, honest, and safe. A safe space for open communication. Some important healthy characteristics that we should all strive for are being able to speak up and feeling comfortable with each other. We should be able to compromise. We should be able to be supportive and respect each other's privacy and interdependence. And some unhealthy characteristics are using privilege, like your status of work, school, or society, isolating someone by pressuring them to stop speaking to friends and family is very unhealthy, and using economic and emotional abuse, minimizing a person's concerns, denying wrongdoing, commonly known as gaslighting, blaming, coercion through threats and intimidation are all signs of an unhealthy relationship. And so next we have a scenario. So I'll go ahead and read the scenario, and then you can take a moment to think about some of the questions here. And it says, Jordan and Amari have been dating for just over a year. Recently, Jordan has become more controlling in the relationship. Jordan demands to know where Amari is going and with who, and wants to read all text messages from other friends. When Amari tries to talk to Jordan about his behavior, Jordan gets mad and shuts down the conversation. Jordan does not like Amari's new friends and threatens to leave the relationship if Amari continues to hang out with them. And I think the next slide tells us what a healthy relationship looks like. Okay, so here is the other side, which would be a healthy scenario of the same situation. And it says, Jordan and Amari have been dating for just over a year. Recently, Jordan has become more controlling in the relationship. Jordan demands to know where Amari is going and with whom, and wants to read all text messages from other friends. When Amari talks to Jordan about this behavior, Jordan listens with respect and tries to understand how Amari is feeling. Jordan tells Amari about feeling jealous of Amari's new friends. Both agree that they need to respect each other's space and friendships outside of their relationship, and that it is not okay, and that it is okay that they do not spend all their time together. Jordan and Amari make a plan to talk openly when either is feeling uncomfortable or insecure, so they can create solutions together to help support the growth of their relationship. And what I like about the healthy scenario is that at the start of it, they do have conflict, but the way they go about resolving the conflict is a very healthy way, which again promotes open communication, being honest with one another. So even if you do see a red flag in a relationship, there is the potential to work on it and to make things better. And so the impact of trauma on the brain. During a traumatic event, a hormonal response is triggered and four main hormones are released, which are listed here. Catecholamines like dopamine and epinephrine trigger what is commonly known as a fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And during this reaction, the heart rate increases, sending extra blood to the muscles, which also increase blood pressure. During a freeze response, muscles get tight and freeze. It is important to know that a freeze response is not a cognitive choice, meaning that it's not done on purpose. Oxytocin release aids in the reduction of emotional pain, and cortisol boosts energy to enable a stress response. And opioid peptides like endorphins reduce physical pain, all of which has an impact on memory, which takes us to the next slide. So the hormones released during a traumatic stress response can impact the way information is stored in the brain. So for example, survivors can experience islands of memory or fragmented or disorganized memories. Or survivors may be able to recall vivid, specific sensory details. So there really isn't a single correct reaction to trauma. Trauma can affect people in so many different ways. Go ahead, Sharon. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to navigate the Zoom screen and the slide share. Sorry about that. So hormones and behaviors, going off of what Jasmine said, hormones trigger the way we behave and act in a certain situation. So when your body tells your body to, when your body is producing an excessive amount of hormone, there can be a surge in opiates and can sometimes cause a flat or seemingly lack of emotional response. And this doesn't mean a person is lying or what they do, or they were not harmed. So this can be, during an assault or even after. If somebody's speaking about it, they may seem like emotionless, and some folks are like, are you okay? What's going on? Like, why do you feel nothing? But that's just the way someone is processing, and it's different for everyone. And your emotions can, change, and you might experience mood swings, and it's just the way that your body and your brain are reacting to the trauma. So understanding harm and trauma, we're going to read this quote by Audre Lorde. There is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. Our struggles are particular, but we are not alone. So trauma can be described as a normal response to an abnormal situation. We break trauma down into three different things: historical institutional trauma, generational trauma, and vicarious trauma. With historical institutional trauma that comes from, everyone's lived experience and lived history. So this is stuff that's passed down, but it can also be things like systemic racism, and that can be extremely traumatic for folks who have experienced it. Generational trauma can be something that's passed through your family, for example. It might be also known as intergenerational trauma, and this is, your family's experience and the way they've processed it, and those emotions are kind of passed down to you. Lastly, it's vicarious trauma. So it could be just you hanging out or spending time with somebody or being there to experience a situation, and then inherently you vicariously experience that trauma. So it might have not happened to you directly, but happening to someone you know, and you can feel that too. So what this means for supporting survivors, once we kind of establish all of that, we really want people to have this information so they can better support people around them who are survivors. So some key takeaway points that we want to stress is that not all survivors are the same. No one's trauma is the same at all, and no one will act the exact same way. But just because their experience doesn't match up to someone else's traumatic experience, that doesn't take away their credibility. If someone tells you that they've been harmed, it is your job to support them. So there's no, hey, are you sure this happened? Or, asking them questions that will make them feel like what they went through wasn't valid. If someone shares that with you, please try your best to support them. Memories may not be linear or how you would expect them to be. This does not mean the survivor is lying to you. Someone can be sharing their trauma and their story, and maybe the more they talk about it, the more feelings it brings up for them. Just because they don't say it the first time, or they've, their story has kind of changed the second time around, it doesn't mean that they are lying. And as we mentioned previously, emotions may surge. People may experience mood swings, or they may feel emotionless as they're processing their feelings and thoughts. As supporters, we are not investigators. We're not a psychologist. We're not lawyers. We are friends, and our job is to support. There are a ton of resources out there. We have the Title IX office, we have advocates, we have therapists. So if your friend or a loved one discloses to you that something traumatic has happened to them, please respect that and be present for them. These are some signs of distress. I'm not going to read all of them, but survivors and those who have gone through traumatic experiences may feel all these things, or they may feel some of these things or none of these things at all. It's not limited to this list, but some of it could be as simple as anxious thoughts or overreacting to little things. A pencil drops on the floor and they can snap, because that could have been triggering for them. It could also look at like nightmares. It could be someone's appetite. It's totally different for everyone. Survivors may face different barriers to reporting. Some may think that what happened to them might have not been serious enough to report. Sometimes they might have been like, they don't think that it actually happened. They didn't trust that it happened. Sometimes when assault or trauma happens to someone, you're kind of not sure if that's what they intended to do. And maybe you want to protect the other person, and you don't want them to get in trouble. You don't want people to find out. Some survivors have a tendency to blame themselves, like, oh, that was my fault. This happened because I did something. But all these misconceptions prevent people from seeking support and resources. At UCLA, there are responsible employees. So responsible employees are trained about gender-based violence, and they are not confidential staff. So if they hear that something has happened, they must report it to the Title IX office. Whereas the CARE program, we are a confidential resource. So if they hear a responsible employee hear something about sexual assault, sexual harassment, IPV, or stalking, they have to go to Title IX. And then the Title IX office will determine what they want to do, if there needs to be an investigation. And the survivor does not have the right to participate. Or they have the right not to participate in the investigation or proceedings if they choose not to. So as I mentioned just a little bit at first, these are the differences between the CARE office and the Title IX office. So the CARE office, we provide confidential services for anybody on UCLA. our services go from advocacy services, so going to appointments with survivors, helping them navigate the legal system or their investigation with the Title IX office. With the Title IX office, what they do is conduct investigations based on reported incidents. They will tell survivors like, hey, CARE is a resource for you if you want to like access that and have somebody assist you and support you through the process. And they also will make recommendations after they close the investigation. So what your next steps are. One of our peers made a really good point in saying advocacy versus policy. So at CARE, we advocate for the survivor, and the Title IX office is more policy-based if a survivor wants to report or their incident gets reported by an employee. Jasmine, do you want to do this one?
Yes. So how can we respond with care? Here are some healthy tips that we have for you guys. Trying to be someone's therapist or taking on the responsibility of helping someone navigate a traumatic experience can be a lot to handle. So if you know someone who is struggling, the best thing you can do is support them through telling them about campus resources. And then could we go back real quick just so I could touch on the point? So some ways you can respond respectfully are don't make promises you cannot keep, establish boundaries, and don't try to be all things to everyone. And so here are some more respectful ways to respond. It takes a lot for someone to open up about difficult situations, especially traumatic experiences. So remember to be compassionate and acknowledge their experience. A lot of the time, just having someone validate what has happened can mean so much for someone. So responding with things like, thank you for telling me, I'm so sorry this happened, how can I support you, can mean so much. And then acknowledging them by saying things like, I hear you and I believe you can make a difference. And we could go to the next slide. Okay. So how to refer. To refer a person or organization to our team, you can provide them with our email, telephone number, or you can refer them to our online website at www.careprogram.ucla.edu. On our website, you can find all of the information in the slide and most of what was covered today. We are located in Murphy Hall, so when campus reopens, feel free to pay us a visit. And lastly, we recommend you let a survivor determine if they want a care referral before requesting an outreach. We do not want anyone feeling pressured. And so be an upstander. What does it mean to be an upstander? An upstander is a person who speaks or acts in support of an individual or a cause, usually through intervening on behalf of a person who is being attacked. So here are some tips on how to be a good upstander while still maintaining your own safety. So first, if you notice a situation, be aware of your surroundings and ask yourself, does it look like someone needs help? And feel responsible to act. Don't be the person who looks the other way or just pretends like nothing is happening. Educate yourself on what to do and find a way to safely intervene. So some examples of this could be by causing a distraction, like spilling a drink or calling a friend on their phone. Or if things are really out of hand, you can always call for help and just take action, but be sure to keep yourself safe as well. And supporting survivors, this is your campus. You have a right, role, and responsibility to create a healing space, be intentional, be accountable, and respect people's choices, and validate experiences. And so our next slide is additional resources for you to keep in mind. We have the LGBT Center, the Peace Over Violence, and the UCLA Health Center. I don't know if you have anything to add to this, Sharon? Are you more familiar with these?
Yeah, for the LA LGBTQ Center, they focus on, they have resources for folks who identify as queer. Sometimes their services might be more, I'm at a loss for words, but it might be a better fit than the services that CARE can offer. So for those folks, so that's an option. For the UCLA Health, it's just the Rape Treatment Center in Santa Monica, which is the same information from the other slide.
And then I think Peace Over Violence is a domestic violence shelter for women. Yeah. And so if you have any questions, feel free to email us, and hopefully you found this recording, this presentation helpful for you. And that is all.